What's going on, all you minties? It is Tuesday. That means it's time for your early look at some recent trade paperbacks from Marvel Comics coming out this week. So, let's get started. And welcome back, everybody. Before getting started, I want to give a huge shout out to David Gabriel and the fine folks at Marvel for sending us an advance copy of these books coming out this particular week. And that is the week of Tuesday, August 30th, or August 31st on Wednesday, depending on where you get your books. Every week, I do the upcoming collected editions for Marvel Comics. They're kind enough to send us copies of it. But I will say one thing. This particular week, I didn't get a copy of the Marvel Masterworks Incredible Hulk book. It should be volume 16 that is coming out this week, so keep an eye out for that. But I didn't get a copy of it. But I every week come back for these books that I'll be doing overviews of, I can't wait to read that. Advanced overviews of. These are just a recent batch of books that just came in, so I'm going to be busy reading not just this, but I also read a ton of other stuff from Dark Horse and IDW and Fantagraphics and things like that. But every week I do get books out there. And as always, every week I put the timestamps in the description of the video so you can jump around in case you want to skip any spoilers or any chance of spoilers. I try to keep away from spoilers, but sometimes it can't be helped. But I like to warn people ahead of time. Alright, that's enough out of that. Let's go ahead and start with this volume right here of Silk, Age of the Witch. Kicking off this week is Silk, Age of the Witch. So this is a new series. It's the 2022 Silk series, but it is labeled as Volume 2. So it works as a direct follow-up. So this is Volume 1 right here. This is Threats and Menaces. This came out in 2022, but it collects the 2021 series, and this collects the 2022 series of Silk. Gets all confusing, but they are labeled Volume 1 and Volume 2. So this stuff has not been collected in the complete collections that came out. I think they started coming out last year. So now we have a new writer. We have Emily Kim taking over the book, or writing this particular miniseries, and we have the return of Takeshi Miyazawa. So very happy to see that name. That's a name I'm familiar with because of Ultimate Spider-Man, Runaways, and of course Spider-Man Loves Mary Jane because of my wonderful wife, the Astonishing Melanie. So collecting all 5 issues of the 2022 series, this book has 112 pages. And we have Cindy Moon. She is back. And this time around, she is fighting a nemesis. Not from her past, but from the past. It's a witch that was pretty much turned to stone at one time. And because of this, I think he's an Instagram influencer is what he is. I think I've learned what that term has meant over the years. Because some people have called me a YouTube influencer. It's so weird to be called that. But he is a social media influencer, let's just say that, taking selfies of himself, blowing Silk up on his social media. His little video went viral. So him and his friend go into a museum and bam, they accidentally free this particular witch. Now, this witch has been around for many, many centuries, but she comes back with a vengeance. And what she does is she sucks the life force out of people. So this young man gets captured and he turns old. That's how she is able to remain young. So she's doing that to young people. She's going around and pretty much sucking the life force out of the youth. And she is going after Cindy. So Silk. That's what this miniseries is all about. So it's an interesting miniseries because it feels like it's stuff that I've read before. I could have seen in episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer or things like that. And that's really how it reads. It doesn't really read like a Silk miniseries. I don't think this is much of a spoiler. Is Silk running around old these days? But anyway, yes, my point is that it reads less like a mini-series of Cindy Moon, of Silk, and more like a standalone little horror comic that eventually everything gets resolved within the first 5 issues, or within this mini-series. So her supporting cast is back from previous volumes, family's back, her job, working with Jonah J. Jameson, and you can find out who she teams up with to try to take down this witch. As far as the extras are concerned, though, we do have some variants back here. There's also some in between the chapters. There's some gorgeous covers. That one right there, Carnage Forever variant by Inhyuk Lee. Wow. That one is awesome. And then this one back here by Wu Na-young, which I thought this one was Peach Momoko at first when I saw it. So that is Silk, Age of the Witch. This one has an interesting beginning because this starts off with a combination of a screenwriter, a combination of a podcast, and of course a combination of all these characters that have appeared in the past. You have the writings of Stephen DeKnight. He's writing 2 issues here. Rich Duke, Ethan Sachs, and Torun Grumbeck. Now, they are joined by different artists. Well, B is an awesome name, by the way. But some of these artists I've seen before in other miniseries. And it kicks off with this one right here. This is Wastelanders' Old Man Logan. Now, it is important to note that some of these stories take place after and before certain events. So if you've never read any of these, like Old Man Hawkeye, Old Man Quill, Old Man Logan, then I suggest maybe not reading this yet because this one does have spoilers. All I will say about Old Man Logan is it takes place after the events of the original Old Man Logan series that took place in the pages of Wolverine by Mark Millar and Steve McNiven. And it is just the adventures of Lone Wolverine and Cub. So yes, it is the adventures of Baby Hulk and Old Man Logan. This is before he comes to the 616 universe, so before Secret Wars, before Battle World, and before the Jeff Lemire series. So that is something strongly suggest to read maybe at least the first batch of comics that have his appearance, and then come back and read this, because that's when it takes place. Now, there's an interesting twist as to who is behind that armor, and I like the little Hulk relationship with Wolverine. Actually, this one's got a little bit of violence that I wasn't expecting, but I dug it. Now, we move into Old Man Hawkeye, or I'm sorry, Wastelanders Hawkeye, and I am censoring the final page of the Wastelanders Wolverine. Now, here they do tell you this story takes place after Old Man Hawkeye, number 12, and prior to the original Old Man Logan, because it has to. So this is about Hawkeye. He's losing his sight. He goes back to his master, and the master has a job for Hawkeye to do. He's got to go and pretty much put this particular item in a hidden location. He's got to break in and do it all by himself. Cute little twist, but what stood out to me, holy crap, is this artwork. Reminds me a lot of like early Ken Lashley artwork, which I've enjoyed over the years. Now we have the Wastelanders Old Man Quill, or Star-Lord. This takes place after the main event of Old Man Quill, so after issue 11, but before the ending of issue 12. So he goes and visits the X-Mansion. This one does have spoilers. If you haven't read Old Man Logan, go back and read that. So this is the only thing I will say. I was just looking at the artwork, but that's all I will say about that. And then we have Wastelanders Old Man Doom. This one takes place before the Avengers of the Wasteland and before the ending of Old Man Quill. See what I mean? How these stories, some of them take place, because sometimes they spoil things for you. This one is interesting because it's Doom being Doom. And of course, him trying to have his way in this particular alternate future. And you have other characters appear. And that's just one of the characters that appears, is Mephisto. And he has his mother back. And then the last one in here to be collected is Wastelanders Black Widow. Now, this one is interesting because we know the fate of the Black Widow in this particular universe, but was that really her fate? And which Black Widow are we reading about in this? Is it really the original Black Widow, Natasha? Is it Yelena, or is it a new Black Widow? I will leave you to find that out. Let's look at the extras. There's a couple of variants before this one, but they kind of spoil something, so I just wanted to come here. This is the Steve McNiven and Laura Martin variant. Honestly, if there's ever an old people omnibus, I'd love to have this as the cover. The book has 120 pages. This one retails for $15.99. Here is the podcast variant, which is just a black and white variant without the colors. And then a Star-Lord podcast variant, featuring Old Man, Rocket Raccoon, and Doom in the background. Oh yeah, it's that time for the video to do the spine watching time. Here are the spines of the 4 collected editions trade paperbacks coming out this week. Next up is Devil's Reign, Villains for Hire. Now, this is going to be hard to talk about because of the characters that show up here. But this not only collects Villains for Hire, it also collects the Jed MacKay one-shot of Devil's Reign Moon Knight. Alright, so for you brave souls that don't care much about spoilers, and then it's not really a spoiler, I do have to talk about a character that shows up, just one. Because you've seen that character. That's the thing with mapping some of these omnis or hardcovers that's got to be difficult. It's like, where do you put this? Honestly, if I was mapping the omnibus or oversized hardcover, depending on how they decide to do it, I would put this right after issue number 1 of Devil's Reign. Because these are the Thunderbolts. These are the Kingpin's Thunderbolts. Right now, during this time, the Kingpin is mayor of New York, and he is going after the superheroes, kind of making his own Hero Registration Act, but it's not really a Hero Registration Act. He's just going left and right, arresting characters. Here we have his Thunderbolts. We have Whiplash, Rhino, the new Electro, and Agony. Never thought I'd see Agony play a main role. Taskmaster, and then of course we have one more character that you've seen in the pages of Devil's Reign, and that's why I said, well, maybe read the first issue and then come back and read this to see how it happens. And that is, of course, John Walker, U.S. agent. So he ends up joining the team of Thunderbolts, Kingpin's Thunderbolts. There's also another member that joins, but that one you can read for yourself to see who it is. And this is just them pretty much going after all these characters. There's something that happens at the end of issue 3 that ties heavily with issue number 4 of Devil's Reign. So again, a mapping thing. I don't think it's too much of a spoiler to read this after reading the first issue, because you kind of thought that's where it was going to go anyway. But still pretty cool. This one's written by Clay McLeod Chapman. Manuel Garcia supplying the artwork, and they all have the little Thunderbolts thing. And why exactly is John Walker joining the Thunderbolts? I was a little mad about that. I thought he had redeemed himself. The book has 112 pages and retails for $15.99. Let's look at the Moon Knight issue. So here we have the Moon Knight issue with a cover by Rod Reyes, written by Jed MacKay, and drawn by Federico Sabatini, whose artwork really reminds me of Phil Hester. It's a cleaner looking Phil Hester, not as many shadows or contrasts as Phil uses in his art, but it's pretty much the character of Moon Knight, because like I said, we have the Kingpin now in charge sending his goons after these characters. Moon Knight is now in prison, along with other superheroes. So is there a team up? You bet your ass there is. But, of course, he rolls solo most of the time. As far as the extras, which there are a lot, making sure none of the extras spoil anything. But see, even the variant covers have John Walker there. Some pages, internal pages by Manuel Garcia there. Covers. And the big fight right here from issue 3. And then Jed MacKay's Moon Knight with artwork by Federico Sabatini. Alright, and Devil's Reign X-Men by Jerry Duggan, Phil Noto doing the internal artwork. This one retails for $15.99, has 112 pages. Alright, so this is one that I find funny because this happens a lot when there's crossovers. The solicitations have, like, okay, we're going to put Devil's Reign X-Men in here and something else. So it's always like to be determined. Well, in this particular case, it's Devil's Reign Winter Soldier. Now, it really doesn't fit into this, but they had to put it somewhere in order to have everything collected from Devil's Reign. So the first 3 issues is the X-Men storyline, and they pretty much feature the character, let's go back here, of Emma Frost. Now, Kingpin is manipulating everyone, and he happens to know something about Emma's past, something that she did that's so horrible. But it doesn't just feature her, see what I mean? Thunderbolts, John Walker there. It features other characters of the Krakoa era, like Polaris or Captain Krakoa. There's a little bit of a spoiler in here if you don't know who Captain Krakoa is and haven't been reading that. The artwork in all 3 issues is supplied by Phil Noto. And again, the whole secret thing, it really could have been covered in an issue of X-Men if they were going to go that route. But I like the way that it ties into a big event like Devil's Reign, meaning that the character arc of Emma is not just important for X-Men, but also important for the entire Marvel Universe. So again, Phil Noto supplying the artwork here, and Jerry Duggan doing all the writing. And then, censoring that final page of Devil's Reign X-Men. By the way, I really like that twist and what happens to some of the characters in here. I like how it, well, no, that's spoiling it, so I'll just leave it at that. But here's the cover to Winter Soldier. Now, Winter Soldier is written by Jackson Lansing and by Colin Kelly. And the artwork in this is supplied by Nico Leon. So this is pretty much another thing that takes a little bit of a flashback and focuses on the character of Winter Soldier and how he is dealing with the events of Devil's Reign. Now let's look at the extras. So we have some variant covers, this one here by Scott Williams. By the way, Winter Soldier doesn't really end there. And even though the tie-in is a little less to do with Devil's Reign, it goes into the Sentinel of Liberty series, the Captain America Sentinel of Liberty, and some other variants. 112 pages, $15.99, and that is Devil's Reign X-Men. That, as they say, is that. Man, what a short video. Last week, I think I spent an hour talking about books. If you're interested in purchasing any of these books, don't forget to check out our sponsor, cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content and page count of each of these books. Let me know in the comments down below which ones you're picking up. If you're picking up Devil's Reign in this format, if you're hoping for an omnibus or an oversized hardcover. Wastelanders, if you're hoping for that omnibus of one day, all these, I guess it would be the old people omnibus. And then Silk. Are you happy to see Silk back and what you thought of any of these stories if you've read them? Leave your comments down below. Any questions, leave them down below. And don't forget to check out our Patreon and Spreadshop. Amazing ways to support the channel if you can do so. More importantly, all of you stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.